So we're in the middle of a story here. There was a time in which I worked in Manhattan in a law firm, and the different secular Jewish attorneys that were there who may charge $250 an hour. So they once or twice a week I would go and I would teach them. We'd go in the big conference room overlooking Times Square, and for an hour, hour and a half, sometimes even 2.5 hours, we would learn. We learned for over a period of 8 years. And during that time, the person who was my chief nemesis was the person called Al Podell. Al Podell was an aging hippie lawyer that he lived in his office. I think he lived in his office. Anywhere I went, he was always challenging me, trying to find ways to challenge me and make me think that his way was true, and so on and so forth. And he was always, he was the kind of person that I think he lived in his office, honestly, because he had a little bit of bed there, and people would see him sitting in the bathroom, like brushing his teeth. And I think at nighttime he'd walk around in the office in his pajamas. So. And he had very strange. All of his clients are very strange people. And there was when I had to answer the door one time, this woman came in, and I thought she was holding a child, but I thought this is the ugliest child in the world. But she was holding this ugly dog, the skinny dogs. The more the skinnier the dog is, the more money he's worth. And Al said to her, they were talking about how she said, this other dog is dominating this dog, so I felt I should have quality time with him. So she decided to bring this dog into Manhattan. So there was one time I tried to do things to be able to try to reach out to him and try to teach him. I was teaching other people, so I tried to teach him also. One time I was teaching all the different attorneys about Purim, because Purim was coming. And I had Hamantashins there. So Al was a big Baal Taivi, always he needed to eat something. So he came in and he may I have one of those Hamantashins, please? And I said, you want to join and learn with us? He said, no, I don't believe in organized religion. I said, we're not so organized. It was disorganized religion. So he took the Hamantash and I said, we should make a bracha. I said, bracha ta Hashem. And he said the bracha with me and he ate it. And I said, Al, welcome to organized religion. So as a revenge, he went and raided the refrigerator and ate the rest of the Hamantashins when I wasn't there, so I didn't have it the next day. So he had all these in his office. He had every single false god in the world, I had all these idols in his whole entire office. Al Podell, this guy, 1500 Broadway in Manhattan, 21st floor. So he had the false gods of Bangkok and Hong Kong and Thailand and Laos. This office, he's a Jewish guy. He was a Jewish guy. Filled all these different idols, the whole entire office. And at one time, he had, bring it in, boys. And they had this, he had paid someone to sculpt this gigantic 4-foot-tall eagle that looked like himself. And it says wheeled in this thing. That was wheeled in his office also. So he put a Cleveland Indians hat on it. So I guess he wanted to mavaza that idol. I don't know. And he was constantly always getting me into arguments and so on. So not arguments, but he's trying to challenge me and so on and so forth. And sometimes so one time I was in his office. And I was trying to teach him something about Yiddishkeit and so on and so forth. So he is saying, I said, listen, let's say you had an uncle, and the uncle was so nice to you and saying, constantly giving you everything, and always taking care of you and anticipating your needs, and made sure you didn't lack for anything. Anytime you wanted something, you would like something, you needed something, you fancied something, you end up getting it for you. Wouldn't you think need some give thanks to the person? Say thank you. Show some gratitude. So, and I said, so that's HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He's giving you he gave you a spinal cord, he gave you eyesight, he gave you color vision. You can eat foods. You have 4 little taste buds in the back of your tongue. You don't have to look over there. You have 4 taste buds in the back of your tongue. You have all this. You can sense and you can have a conversation. No one else wants to talk to you, but you can have a conversation. And I said, so you should, you have all these different idols in your office. Why can't you put a mezuzah on your door of your office? You got all these different other representations of other things. Why can't you you're a Jew? Why don't you put a mezuzah up there? I thought maybe like the idols and the mezuzah would cause like a tornado in his office, with the cold winds and the warm winds mixing together. He'll have a tornado in his office. So he said to me the fateful words. He said, "Listen to me. I work hard for my money. I don't need Hashem for anything." Dun 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 dun. The next day, Al Podel didn't show up to work. And that whole week he didn't show up at work. And I wasn't asking anybody where he was because I was happy he wasn't there. Because, he's always trying to chapter me and whatever. Wasn't so interested. And then it was a month and still he hadn't showed up. And 5 weeks passed, still he hadn't showed up. And finally, someone says, "Welcome back, Al." So Al Podel finally came back. And he was walking down the hallway, and he turned the corner, and I looked at his face, and I had to clamp my hand in my mouth, and I almost screamed in horror. I never seen anything so ugly in my life, that the left side of his face was lower than the right side of his face. So that night, the night that he said, "I don't need Hashem for anything," is that night he had a stroke. And left him, his face is down here, and one part of his face was up here, one part of his side was paralyzed, right? Yeah, one side was paralyzed. There's no muscle, so it was all sagged down this way. I'd never seen, and he's still, so you would think you say that the chef, you have like these little veins in your brain, and one little clot like this, and your life is changed for the rest of your life. And he didn't learn anything from the lesson. He realized he's not immortal anymore. He's not going to live forever. So he got all the attorneys together because he came up with his last will and testament a week later, leaving all of his money to his dogs. Truth. And the lesson really is for me. It wasn't for him because he didn't learn from this. And he still kept having clients come to his office. But he didn't turn the lights on in his office. He would sit with his clients in the dark because he didn't want the clients to see how ugly he was. And so the thing is like this: is a person has to understand that everything in the world is from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Anything, any single talent, any ability, any idea, any inspiration. A person can have so many inspirations, and they're so frustrated because they never can act. They have all these dreams of things they want to do, but they can never act on them because they don't have the resources to be able to do them. To be able to have them, or there could be people of tremendous resources, but they're not inspired to do anything. They can have things, and you need Hashem to give you everything. You need Hashem to give you a person. Hashem has to see that certain ideas he wants to come into the world. There's certain things he wants to happen in the world at certain time. Certain things he wants to happen at certain times. Yes, so Hashem puts people in certain times in history that he knows they're going to use their bechir. Thank you, I'm sorry. It's okay. Just leave it. Sit down, please. There's certain times in history, Hashem says certain things have to happen at certain times in the world. And I have to place neshamas at certain times who I know are going to be able to act on these things because we have bechir, we have free will. We have free will, and yet Hashem knows everything that's going to happen. That's a big contradiction for people to be able to understand. If Hashem knows everything I'm going to do, so how do I have free will? So free will, bechira, free will doesn't mean that just because Hashem knows what you're going to do doesn't mean that you can't do it. Hashem knows what you're going to do. So Hashem puts things into play for you to be able to do what you want to do on the planet. The great principle of free will is the way a person wants to go, that's the way he's led, is the great principle of free will. The way you want to go, Hashem is going to lead you in that direction, which means he's going to make you think that you already decided what is the truth in the world. And Hashem is going to let you believe that what you believe in is the truth. Hashem is not going to interfere with you. If a person from ISIS believes it's the will of Hashem to put his own fellow Muslims in a cage and sink the cage down and watch them drown to death, so Hashem is going to make him think that that's the truth in the world. How can people do great acts of wickedness and do terrible things? How can Hitler Yamakshra say that he's doing the will of Hashem? He said in his speeches, he is sent to this world, that God sent him. Hitler thought of himself as Mashiach, as the Messiah, that he was sent by Hashem to rid the world of the Jewish people. So how do people come and think such things could possibly be the truth? Because that's the great, if a person wants to be led astray, if he wants to do the wrong thing, Hashem's not going to stop it. We see that by Bilam Arasha. So Bilam first, they came and they said, they sent shluchim to him, messengers to him, say, can you please come and curse the Jewish people? And he went and he said, I have to ask Hashem. I have to ask Hashem whether I'm supposed to curse the Jewish people or not. And Hashem said, don't do it. Don't go with them. And the next day they said, well, because we didn't offer him enough money. So they offered him even more money. And so he said, okay, wait, hold on 1 second. Let's ask Hashem a second time. He waited the next night. He spoke to Hashem on the next night. And Hashem said, you want to go, go. So what's going on here? If Hashem told him no, he said, if a person wants, the way a person wants to go, that's where he's going to be led. Hashem's going to say, you want to go? Go. You want to do something wrong? You want to jump off a cliff? Go ahead. Jump off a cliff if you want. It's all up to you. If you want to be great, you want to be able to help people, you want to find out the truth in this world, you want to live in a way that's pleasing to Hashem and pleasing to people, and that's what you earnestly, sincerely want to do, so that Hashem will send you the information you need to be able to do it. But it all comes from you. It all comes from inside of you, what you want to do. And what you want to do, so Hashem, if a person could even be a person who is born in a home of secular Jews, he doesn't know anything of the Torah at all. But inside of his heart, he feels that he wants to have the truth, he wants to live the truth, he wants to do the right thing. And he's not satisfied with all the things that he sees in the outside world, because he's looking for the emes, he's looking for the absolute truth, and he sees everybody as a liar all around him. He sees all the different people and the things they say, and he can see how they're lying. And it unnerves him, and it aggravates him, and leads him with no peace. And so Hashem says, eventually, I'm going to let you see what is the real truth. And the person finally hears things of Torah, and he finally, he says, there's meaning here, there's purpose, there's fulfillment, there's truth, there's honesty. There's no dishonesty here. No one's lying. No one's using religious things to be cruel to other people. Yeah.
They have very subjective views on it. For example, he says a revolution in Israel about the more people become more traditional. They already banned pork from some television restaurants, I guess.
Yeah.
So is that phenomenon happening in America also?
So
the higher the kedusha, the higher the tumah.
Right. So the point is, he's saying, so this thing since the 1960s, there's been a Baal Tshuva revolution since the 60s, in which Jewish people who absolutely know nothing, not brought up with anything with their own religion, or if they're even told something, Reform or conservative is not teaching the truth of what Judaism is. Reform and the conservative does not teach anything about what Shabbos is, what Kashrus is, what Taras Mishpacha is, what Shavuot. I saw a calendar that was put out by a Reform temple. They left out the holiday of Shavuot. A person said, I can't work now. Next week I can't come to work. There's the Jewish holiday of Shavuos. He took out his calendar from the Reform temple. He said, I don't see any holiday here. I don't see any holiday here. Where's the holiday? So how you doing? Come sit down. Come sit down. He said, where's the holiday? It's not on the calendar. So they don't have Shavuos on the calendar. That's the holiday of the Hashem gave us the Torah. So how could they possibly have a holiday of Hashem giving us the Torah if they don't live by the Torah? So how can they have that holiday? How can you have it? It's not there. They don't know anything they're not told anything about their religion. What? I don't know what they have. Maybe they do, but they don't. They don't have anything. They don't have anything. It's like a watered down, poisoned version of what Judaism is. The people. They take what's rice milk. I think rice milk is they have rice and they flood water on it. Yes, and then when the water comes out, it comes out a white thing. We call it rice milk. So they have like Judaism. They just flood water on it. Muddy water, poisoned water, radioactive water, and then whatever comes out, they think, okay, that's Judaism right there. And Judaism means tikkun olam, What does that mean? That means don't use styrofoam, because you're gonna, some dolphin might get it in his gills, and that's that. If he has gills or snout, whatever he has. It's a nice thing. You can't, do anything like that. But that's the extent. It means to vote for Bernie Sanders. That's what it means to be Jewish. That's what it means. What does it mean? It means you have Bernie Sanders, doesn't know anything about Judaism, never knew anything about Judaism. He can say he's proud to be a Jew, but he doesn't know what. He doesn't know what. But he says he doesn't get in front of 50,000 people saying, "I am a self-hating Jew." He comes up and he sits down and he says, "I'm proud to be Jewish," but he doesn't know what being Jewish is. So how can you be proud to be it? Yes. Let's say I'm proud to be a Yankee fan. Come, sit down. Come, bring a chair. He said, I'm proud to be a Yankee fan, but he follows the Milwaukee Brewers all the time. He's not. He doesn't know anything about the Yankees. Yes. How can he be a Yankee fan? He married a woman that's not Jewish. How can you're proud to be a Jewish and you marry a non-Jew? So where's the pride? His children are goyim. So what's the pride? And he goes in on his, he's now building his platform coming up to the convention. So the one in charge of rewriting the platform and their approach to Israel is a person who's an Arab, who's part of head of an organization that spends all their time just trashing Jews in Israel. So he's a proud Jew. That's a proud Jew. That's proud. He can say, "I'm a proud Jew. I'm proud to be Jewish." No, you're not. You're proud to be stupid. You're proud to be uninformed. You're proud to be ignorant. 1 second. You're proud just to be Bernie Sanders. That's what you're proud to be. So he doesn't know. I wish I could run against him and have a debate with him, and I'd say, "Bernie, forget about this. Just come to my house for Shabbos. Come, let's keep Shabbos one time. Let me teach you about Judaism." What?
Wouldn't Israel's socialist policies take precedence over the genocidal thing, whatever? I don't know, whatever.
What genocidal thing you doing?
Quotation marks.
Of what?
Yeah, that he claims. Wouldn't the socialist thing take priority? The one that push away war crimes or something? No.
I have no idea what you're talking about. What's the socialist thing? As far as socialism is concerned, you're talking about Israel? You're talking about Bernie Sanders? Israel. So socialism is a massive failure. Someone should tell Bernie Sanders this. Socialism has failed 50 years ago. Everyone knew it was a failure. Everywhere it's eventually you're going to run out of other people's money, right? Socialism means we use other people's money. We hate them. They work for a living. You have a person who's a billionaire. He just only has 100,000 employees, and all 100,000 people can support their families. But we hate him and tax him on 90%. And so he says, what do I need this for? I'll just move to the Riviera. And so all the rich people leave, and then what are you going to do now? So he's not dealing with reality. But the point is that the Jewish people, the Jewish people will always, they abandon Hashem and they go after false gods. And one of the false gods that they went after was socialism and communism, Bundism, Zionism and idiism, stupidism, all different kinds of ridiculous things that they ended up abandoning the Torah for. They became idealistic. But the point is that when a Jew leaves from the Torah, it's just like you take a fish out of the water and he can flap around for a while, and pretend that he's alive and pretend that he's swimming. But eventually he's just going to be dead on the dock, yes, and start smelling. So it says here, in this week's parsha, it says, if you go in my statutes. If you go in my statutes, says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that means if you learn my Torah is the first step. If you go in my statutes and you do the mitzvahs, you learn the Torah. If you learn Hashem's Torah, you're going to start doing the mitzvahs. When you start doing the mitzvahs, you start entering a whole different realm, a whole different reality of a world that's connected to Hashem, in which you're having an open line, like a person wants, if he can have a hotline to the president, not this president, a different president, someone actually cares about the country. So you had a hotline and you could pick up and you actually speak to the president. So, we have a hotline to HaKadosh Baruch Hu by tefillah, davening, and praying to Hashem, and by doing Hashem's mitzvahs, and by speaking to Hashem, and realizing Hashem is watching me all the time, and I'm being judged, and there's certain things that I have to accomplish. If I'm on this planet, there's a reason why I'm on the planet. So, and there's a mission I'm supposed to accomplish. There's a reason why I'm supposed to be here. So the question is, am I going to accomplish that? I told you I worked in a certain place, so there was another attorney, a lady attorney there, and she was a divorce lawyer, and when she first started, she worked Dalai Lamas away from me. She was also a Jewish woman who didn't keep anything or know anything, and didn't want to know anything. And when she first got into the office, the guy from the Yellow Pages called up. When they used to have Yellow Pages, when people actually had phones back then instead of these little things connected to the neshamas. So she said, "I don't need to advertise in the Yellow Pages. I have people lining up around the block to get to me," is what she said. Because people just couldn't wait to get divorced. And when she finally succeeded in getting her client divorced, she would say, "Mazel tov." For us, a mazel tov, the people get married and there's a baby. A baby is born, a mazel tov. Your daughter gets engaged, so that's a mazel tov. To them, the secular Jews, a mazel tov means you finally got divorced. We learn in the Gemara says that when there's a divorce, that the Mizbeach, the altar of Hashem, sheds tears when people get divorced. And here she's screaming mazel tov to people. And she was so confident, so on and so forth. And there was one time, she finally had a woman who was one of her clients, who was an Orthodox Jewish woman, and she was getting divorced. Yes? So what was happening was that all the rabbis that knew the husband and the wife were doing everything they can that they shouldn't get divorced. That's a normal thing, right? Find some way to reconcile. Just act a little differently. Do this, do that, do something differently. Be a nicer person. Don't raise your voice. Pick up after yourself. Take your wife out to dinner once in a while. Do something. But she was fighting really hard, because that's what she was, to get them divorced. And then these people kept on interfering with her work. So the girl, she's trying to get money. She's trying to make money for herself. And she just screamed out of frustration, those rabbis. She screamed at the woman, you should be conservative, be reform, be anything, don't be orthodox. Yes? So I said, now she's using all of her, she was a very powerful, charismatic and intelligent and heartless person. And then she was trying to destroy this young girl. Not only she should, not get divorced, she should get divorced, but she should just give up everything. So I said like this. When I heard her say that, I said, I couldn't do she made me sick. So, for years I listened to her just destroying one family after another, saying Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov. I had to hear her because she was so loud. She was like H&R Puffin stuff. That's what she looked like. If you go back, you can Google it to see that's what she looked like, and her cackling. She laughed so loud that like the windows would shake. Her laugh was so loud, and she laughed in glee as she was able to maneuver another couple that they should get divorced. Give me more money, more money, more money, more money. And now she's having frustration over this, or the rabbis are interfering, that they're trying. She never heard of someone actually trying to get people not to get divorced, and being more successful than she is. And she screamed at this woman, this Orthodox young girl, that should give up her religion. Not get divorced, but give up the religion that she was born with. And so I couldn't take it anymore. I put my head down. I said, Hashem, please kill this woman. Yeah. I meant in my heart, Hashem should just kill her. I wrote this story in a magazine, and it was published in a magazine, Hamadiyah. It was in the Hamadiyah magazine. They published all this story, and they. Oh.
Sorry, bro.
Okay. Yeah. So it's okay. So the editor and the person who, the definition of an editor is a person who ruins your story. So the whole thing I just said about screaming that Hashem should kill this woman, they refused to put it into the story. They left it out. They said, Hashem, please, I don't know what, they just left it out. I said, put it in, should put it in. They wouldn't put it, they couldn't, how could you say that? How could you wish someone should die? I said, you didn't hear this woman. She destroyed people every second. She was trying to take a young girl away from her religion. What am I supposed to do? You know, give her cupcakes? Poison, maybe, I don't know. You know, so as I went, Hashem, kill this woman. So the Gemara says, Ani kames.
Did they end up publishing it, or
Yeah, it was probably, it was, as I said, it was in the Ahmadiyya magazine.
What was the mashal of the story?
I didn't finish the story yet. So the Gemara says, Ani kames, a poor person is like a dead person. And this woman, who when she first moved into her office, when the Yellow Pages said, I have people lining up around the block to get in my office, she filed bankruptcy. And she had a son, and her son married another man. And she decided to go off to Arizona, I guess, and cook for them or something, to move in with her son and his husband. She had 3 husbands. 2 of them she killed. 1 divorced her. She had 1 son who got married to a guy in Arizona. I don't know. She went out to make them pancakes or something. I don't know. And she filed for bankruptcy. And because she obviously she was failing. And so she had to give over all of her cases to a different attorney. So this case she gave over to a different attorney, and that new attorney did not have the fire in his gut like she did. And he didn't care so much whether she got divorced or not divorced, and the rabbis were able to bring them together, and they were able to stay married. The point is that she had absolutely no, and the whole point of why I brought this story, this one time, before she was about to leave her office, I was just right across the hallway from her, so I saw all the theatrical shows that she would put on. She raised her hand up to the Shemayim and she says, I wasted my whole entire life. Who's she saying? Who's she speaking to? Hashem? Maybe she's speaking to Hashem. I don't know. I hope she's speaking to Hashem. So we're saying like this, if a person doesn't have a Kadosh Baruch Hu, if a Jew is a Jew that has an neshama inside of him of intense greatness, there's an extra neshama that the Ein Yehudim do not have, and it's there to be filled with Torah, and for a person to have meaning and to have fulfillment in his life, and that a person has to know that he's going to be lost. A person has to know that without the Torah, he's just totally just lost. He has nothing. He has just emptiness. And either he can admit that he has emptiness and change himself, or he just goes from one distraction to another. One movie, one show, run to this concert, run to this vacation spot, run here, run there, run here, run everywhere. They just run from one spot to another. So they shouldn't have 1 second to pay attention to themselves to realize that their life is in misery. And when you have these mega famous people who have money and fame and they have everything on the planet, and yet they still kill themselves. So you say, well, what am I running to? Even if I find it, even if I become as famous and successful and as wealthy as Robin Williams, so he ended up taking his life. So, what is the point? Obviously, it's not the answer. It's not the answer. What the answer is that a person can be anything he wants. He can be a famous Hollywood star. He can be a billionaire, a trillionaire. He can run for president. But inside his heart, he has to have a relationship with Hashem. And how do I understand what is my relationship to Hashem? Is by learning Hashem's Torah. And when you have a relationship with Hashem through Hashem's Torah, you're going to become who you truly are, who you're truly meant to be. You're not going to feel that I've wasted my whole entire life. At the age of 65, you're not going to say that. At the age of 65, that the Torah life is the true life, because as you get older, life gets better. And every other philosophy, once your youth starts fading away, you're like getting kind of panicky, because what do you have to look forward to? But if a person lives a life of Torah, he has children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren and great-great-grandchildren, and they're all there. He has 10 children, 100 grandchildren, 1,000 grandchildren, 10,000 great-grandchildren, all keeping Torah, all keeping the mitzvahs, all being good people, all bringing Hashem's greatness into the world. And a person can look back and say, I accomplished, not that I wasted my life, I lived a life of utter fulfillment, and it can't get any better than this. And it's because I was loyal to Hashem, and I followed His Torah. And because of that, my life was just filled with intense meaning and fulfillment. And as I get older, my life gets better. And we have a good Shabbos, everybody. Good Shabbos.